Well, good afternoon, and I want to start by thanking members of council for their unanimous action yesterday to complete our efforts to reform the towing practices in the city of Detroit. Council deserves credit for coming back from recess to address this issue, giving it the urgency that it deserves, so we can finally put these problems behind us and start the new year fresh. This is what we've been working toward for 5 years, and it's finally accomplished, and I think it's going to make a huge difference in this city. For those of you who haven't followed it, the problem goes back to 2011, when the city made a decision not to bid the towing contracts, but to allow the Board of Police Commissioners simply to issue permits. And at the time, the Board of Police Commissioners was appointed by the mayor. That was changed by the charter the next year. And the Board of Police Commissioners issued permits. The numbers are basically in the range of 14, but there was no clear outline of which towers got which tows. And over the years, we've seen a lot of very troubling practices. We saw any police officer who found a car calling their favorite tower and getting it towed. And at times, the police officer would tell their favorite tower to take it to their favorite repair shop to get it towed. It evolved from that to the point where towers went out and found the cars themselves, called their favorite officer, who then gave it back to their favorite tower. We have had a city councilman convicted. We've had a deputy police chief convicted, and by my count, 8 police officers convicted of everything from taking bribes from the towers to falsifying the damage reports and taking bribes from the repair shops for doing repairs that were never needed. And when you have this much money available and this lack of oversight, you end up with the kind of results we've seen in this city. And so it's been a 5-year struggle. Chief James Craig deserves great credit for getting it started. He assigned his assistant chief, a fellow by the name of James White, to head up the effort, and we've been going at this a step at a time. We suspended or eliminated 8 towers we felt were engaged in unethical practices. We got a whole bunch of lawsuits, and to my knowledge, we've won every single one of them because we had people that we didn't believe should be doing the work. Then they came out and said, well, if you don't have all these unethical towers, you won't be able to get the cars towed. And so the Detroit Police Department started its own towing operation, set up our own tow lots, our own vehicles, and we've been towing about 25%. The towers promptly sued us for the police doing our own towing, but we wanted to take the financial incentive out of the market, and we wanted to take the pressure off of having to deal with folks we didn't want to deal with. We ended the practice where towers could find their own cars. And interestingly, the next year, the number of car thefts in the city dropped significantly, something that I've always thought was likely to be related. And then the week that Andre Spivey was charged, we convinced the Board of Police Commissioners to finally terminate the permitting process. We then proceeded to go out for bids. It was an open and competitive process. Got challenged several points along the way, but we ended up with 7 companies that we believe are professional and ethical companies that were sent up to City Council. The issue had become, of course, if we've only got 7 companies, are we going to be able to get every one of these abandoned vehicles off the street? And so the Detroit Police Department is raising the amount of towing that will be done internally. So now 35 to 40% of the tows will be done directly by DPD. We have 7 companies that were approved yesterday by City Council. And most importantly, there is a software system that Chief White and Commander Parrish have installed that takes the discretion out of the rotation. Now, every single request for a tow goes through a central software system. It assigns the tow to the next company up in line, and if anybody deviates from that rotation process, a red flag goes up and we can spot it immediately. I think we have done everything that you would expect us to do to take these incentives out. One other thing we're announcing today that I'm really pleased about. When you talk to average citizens, the biggest complaint I get is this: my car got stolen. I didn't have theft insurance. Not only did I have to fix the car, but I had to pay a tow yard hundreds of dollars in storage fees. There's something wrong with the fact your car gets stolen and then you're paying to have your own car being stored. And so at times we would attempt to work out with the individual private tow yard to give folks a refund, but that was always a challenge. The towing company had done their job. With today's actions, all of the stolen vehicles in the city of Detroit will come to Detroit Police Department tow yards, and Chief White will outline the plan. But if you have a hardship case, you don't have insurance covering your auto theft, we will waive the storage fees. So whether you live here or whether you're a visitor here, if your car is stolen in Detroit, you will no longer have to pay out of pocket in order to get it back. These are the kinds of things that that every city should expect. They're the kinds of things the people of Detroit deserve. I want to thank Councilmember Coleman Young in particular, who will be speaking in a moment, who has been a champion of the towing reforms from day one and was a significant factor in getting this through. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to the person who's had the job of cleaning up towing in Detroit for 5 years. I'm really glad he's a police chief now, James White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for giving us the opportunity to make this process not only transparent and fair, but give those who have been victimized by auto theft an opportunity to waive the fees and giving us the autonomy to come up with a process for that. After lots of hard work, 5 years of trying to build out a process, I'm very proud to be here today as we continue to expand on what we built with this process. Our officers have done a lot of hard work to restore the confidence in our community as it relates to towing. The software that we have and Commander Parrish's work, who will be speaking momentarily, has been just incredible. One of the biggest takeaways from our tow software is the transparency aspect and the fact that this process takes the individual decision-making out of tow selection, and it is using the software that makes the selection for the next tour up. And as the mayor indicated, if there's any irregularity with that process, there's an immediate alert that goes to our tow monitor and our tow auditor. That immediate alert triggers an investigation, and we're able to rectify the problem immediately. Obviously, with software and technology, particularly with early implementation, there are some hiccups. And so we can say with confidence that the irregularity report works because we did find some irregularities, but luckily those were irregularities just caused by some of the software glitches with early implementation. Since the implementation and most recently, our audits have revealed a very strong accuracy rate, and we have not had any problems with anyone receiving a tow outside of the rotation. The other component to our tow software that is positive and strong for our community is the fact that the citizen who has requested a tow can log on to the Gov tow software and track their vehicle. They know how much the vehicle is going to cost. There are no surprises when they arrive at the tow facility. And in addition to that, they can see the condition of their vehicle by photographs as it was when it was impounded. That also has remedied a number of issues with theft occurring at some tow yards and damages that were occurring after the impound. So these are all very, very positive things, but the single most positive aspect of this is our waiver for those who have been victimized by auto theft and those who don't have auto insurance or some other hardship that prevents them for paying the toll fees and getting their vehicle out of storage. They can fill out our hardship waiver. There's a 24-hour evaluation, and a remedy or recommendation will be made by our toll monitor. So a lot of positives, a lot of hard work, goes out to the men and women that have worked on this project. And we're very happy here today to announce an additional layer of transparency and positivity for our community. And with that, I will turn it over to Coleman A. Young, Jr.
Before I begin, I just want to say I think the issue of the stolen vehicles, if you have no insurance, you're going to get your storage fees waived. It's just huge. And so I wanted to start off with that and saying thank you for everyone up here for doing that. Thank you, Mayor Duggan, for your insight and sustained priority in correcting this very important part of integrity in the procurement of police towing contracts. Thank you, Chief White, and the Board of Police Commissioners to ensure that this stain on the city's police procurement of towing contracts has risen to the priority of transparency and integrity. I thank my colleagues in the leadership and the honorable members of the Detroit City Council for realizing the significance of these contracts by scheduling an emergency session of the City Council. That emergency session further establishes the significance of the priority of the integrity of this procurement process for the Detroit Police Department's towing contracts. It was a historic vote on the part of the Detroit City Council because the City Council wants to restore public trust and turn the page in the towing process in Detroit. And for that, I say thank you. Most importantly, I want to thank the people of Detroit for their insistence that this be a process of integrity and honor. We are turning a page, we are turning a quarter, we are turning a corner, and I say thank you. And with that, I want to bring the mayor back up.
All right, we'll take any questions.
Hey, good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon.
Brandon Hudson, Fox 2. Hope you're doing well. Councilman Young just you talked about this, but I wanted to get your opinion on this, Mayor. How do you hope that these new reforms, these policies play into restoring and rebuilding the trust that you may have lost with members of the community here in Detroit?
If you look at the city procurement process in the last 9 years, we haven't had scandals. Our bidding process goes to low bidders. City Council does oversight and approves it. You haven't seen issues you've seen in other cities. The one area we've had the problem has been the towing contracts, and that's because they didn't go through the city process. They were issued as permits through the Board of Police Commissioners. And so I am really confident with what we've done now. The contracts awarded by the police department, approved by council, continual reports on who got what tows, how much they were paid and the like. This is the only way to restore trust. It isn't to use words, it's to change your actions. And I'm confident with this new system, the profitability of playing games with the towing rotation is finally over.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I did see in the release this all starts on Monday.
Yes.
Yes, the contracts will go into full effect on Monday, and the new rotational system will be commenced.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, Kim Russell from 7 Action News. Wondering, with this new software system going in order, will people experience, say, an issue on the far east side and their car will be taken to the far west side and vice versa?
No, that will not be the case. The towers are going to be organized in the rotation in such a way so that they will promptly respond to any call for service that's necessary.
So the Detroit Towing Association, they say they're happy to see these contracts, but they're frustrated with the city growing its services. They say their towers can grow and offer more. What do you say to them when they say that they can do it more efficiency in the private sector, more efficiently?
I think both towing systems promise efficiency. I think relying on one or the other would not be the smart way to do it. And I think having both systems available to us makes everything work better.
And it was very interesting when you were talking about how thefts have decreased. Can you talk more about that, and has it resulted in any investigations?
As the mayor indicated, there was a time in towing where tow truck drivers were going out and finding their stolen vehicles and then calling their favorite officer in order to recover them. We did notice a marked decrease in the number of vehicle thefts. We understand that correlation is not always equal causation, but it was noticeable. A noticeable decrease in car thefts following a termination of that practice.
So if my car is towed, what can I expect? What do I do to access this system and find out where's my car?
You can go online to findmytowedvehicle.org, and you can punch in your VIN number, your plate number, and it will bring you to your vehicle. So you have a view of where your vehicle is, its condition, as well as the tow fees.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Donna Afana with the Detroit Free Press. I'm curious, how many auto thefts occurred a year in Detroit, and will this affect the city's budget in any way, and how so?
Unfortunately, I don't have those vehicle theft statistics right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get you the numbers there. In fact, I could look it up for you. And as far as the budget, our budget will actually improve because the Detroit Police Department actually brings in more revenue than it has in expenses. So this will improve the police department's bottom line. And I'm going to pull up our DPD stats from today, and we will see what we got on car thefts. I'm going to let Chief White pull it up. So you're better than I am at pulling up the stats. I got the violent crime stats.
Yeah, I got violent crime with me too. I've got a few other things, but I can get those numbers at the end of this. Good news is my goal is to bring those numbers down. We're going to be working very hard with our auto theft department to make sure that we reduce those numbers and see, what's trending with auto theft. The other really positive thing with our tow yards is that we employ a number of returning citizens, and some of our best employees are returning citizens. We're going to continue to expand that program, reintroducing them into the workforce, training them with a skilled trade. So there's a tremendous number of benefits aside from just picking up additional tolls. Being able to hire our Detroiters and give them a second opportunity at professional careers is really something I find extremely rewarding.
Mm-hmm. I have one more question for you, Chief White. You mentioned you're looking into what's trending with auto theft. What is trending with auto theft in the city, and how do we prevent that?
Yeah, well, so we're at about 9,000. What I look at is, what is our average number? What goes into the auto theft? We've got a number of problems with some of these Kias right now in social media, and the kids are stealing them and joyriding because they figured out a way to get a chip. We're actually got a commercial auto theft unit that's going to be working with the manufacturer to come up with some solutions with that. It's a dangerous situation to get into chases with those vehicles. And we also look back at pre-COVID years, because last year we had a decrease in auto theft. The year before, when COVID first hit, not that it's over by any means, that was the normalized city condition. And so we look at what the average number was then in 2019. 21 was an anomaly, 20 was an anomaly, and 22, we seem to be very close to where we were in 19. Still not good enough to say that we're averaging what we did in 19. 19 was too many. So we're going to be doing some things creatively. We're going to be doing some decoy work out there with vehicles and some other things in hopes of bringing our vehicle thefts down. And we're going to also be holding our lots accountable. I mean, lighting and security cameras, they also have to share responsibility to provide a degree of safety for their consumers as well.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.